Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and call this Proofecy Protocol '05, I think, even though it's not mine. But you remember that part? You remember that part in Hunger Games when? Remember that part in Hunger Games when Katniss Everdeen shoots the arrow and shoots the apple out of the pig's mouth. Well, if not a proof of prophecy, not mine. Um, I hope to offer well, no, I will offer a proof of prophecy in this video. A good one. Excuse me. I'm pretty tired, but you know, if I don't do this stuff when I'm tired and when I look like crap and like it won't get done, and it's not about me. And it's certainly not, this isn't my story. I'm just, for some reason, I've said it before, I'm a rusty broken down lamp hanging from the end of the caboose of this train, right? I am not the engine. The engineer might not even know I'm there, or, you know, so to speak. I'm a rusty lamp hanging on the end of this train. So, I just want to diminish myself, you know, in that sense. But also, um, we're all important, even me. Um, and you know, one of the reasons I sometimes play comedy movies when I'm doing stuff is a reminder to keep it light because it's heavy. It's heavy, man. Like, what if I do prove prophecy, which I'm going to? And if not, I'm definitely gonna pull a Katniss. um, but again, you know, and don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong when I say I'm just a rusty lamp on the end of this caboose. Like, that ain't nothing. It's daunting. I'm afraid to be on this train, but there ain't no other place to be. And there's a lot of other hooks for a lot of other lamps. Now, you take all us lamps, put us together, that train will look like a shooting star. Don't want to do that. All right. Yeah, so here we go. Now it's fitting that I've accidentally rolled this up in a scroll. I've had this for like 20 years. I used to have it. I think it was in my apartment in college, and I think I might have had it hung up in my apartment. Well, my parents built a little room for me in the garage when I was about 19. Excuse me, because I didn't, as it turns out, get my Pell Grant. And I got approved for it, but then it never finally came through, so I didn't get my money that I was going to use to pay for rent where I was living. Anyway, um, you know, so all these scrolls are rolled up, right? Because they're sacred. But this print, obviously the true masterpiece, is of value, but this print's worth, well, now it's worth monetarily just about nothing. Though I'm about to make it priceless. I'm about to make this print of the painting worth as much as the painting. Yet, in so doing, will devalue money. Because the war that I'm fighting is the war that this painting fought. Money is useful as a means of exchange. Fair exchange, right? Anyway. But yeah, like old scrolls. Rolled up. Cared for. Because they had value. And because they were prophecy and the Word of God. So too this painting. And as it so happens, so too this particular print, because I decoded it. Not the whole thing, but that's the thing too, is there's so much going on that you lose it. Things aren't always lost because they're obscure. They're lost in the noise. We look at this painting, we look at this print of Hieronymus Bosch, the Garden of Earthly Delights. We look at it and it's just stunning. It just blows our mind. We can't wrap our minds around it. And that has to do with the whole idea, and this isn't the only way that it means, but it's one of the things that it means. Am I recording? Yep. This is one of the things that it means. I gotta hurry up. I only got a half hour left. One of the things that it means is that one of the things when they say the truth is hidden in plain sight, what's a plane in mathematics? And a plane in mathematics is a flat surface, a two-dimensional surface. What's a painting? A plane. Renaissance paintings are prophecies. The people who painted them, whether they knew it or not. Because once you engage in painting, you're engaging in the imagination. And the imagination is real. Like, anyway, I'll get more into that. I'm just going to go right into it. I'm going to try not to philosophize on it. I'm just going to go into it because I don't have the time. But here we go. So if you've never seen this painting, I'd recommend you look it up. Hieronymus Bosch. Hieronymus Bosch, Garden of Earthly Delights. Hieronymus for Jerome, who is heralded by the church. And once people realize this, I mean, this is huge. So if you're familiar with this painting, like, I'm sorry for the poor representation. This is the best I can do, but most people have at least seen this painting, I'd imagine. Or I shouldn't say most. A lot of people have seen this painting. A lot of people will be familiar with this. And once again, I've talked about it before, and I'll talk about it later. But this is a reference to Raphael. Or rather, Raphael and this image are the same thing. In Raphael's School of the Philosophers, where Raphael paints himself into the painting in the School of Athens, in the papal apartments of Julius II, Pope Julius II. Like, that image is a reference to that. I've talked about it before. I'll prove it some other time. Just worth noting. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. That image, that type of face, is the Where's Waldo of art through at least since the Renaissance. I've yet to identify it prior, but it's only because I haven't done that much research on it. It's just one of the things I've noticed. And anyway, So there's all these images, all these people, all these people, all these people, primarily all these white people. And what I've talked about before and what stands out is, well, there's a black person here, there's a black person here, and they both have red dots on their head. They look almost like a cherry or a berry or a bobber, but they appear as red circles on black people. There's a million ways that you can symbolize that, and especially as it goes back to Africa and Horus and all that, right? Or to Egypt and different gods and all and so on. And it's but a red dot is, I won't say always, but like a red dot primarily, especially in Europe, is a representation of Mars. And Mars is associated with 3 because of Aries, because Mars is associated with Aries. And Aries comes about in March, even though in astrology, like Aries is the first, and like I'm not going to go too far into the astro theology of it, but and I actually don't know a hell of a lot, but I know that, and so it's Mars. That red dot is a representation of Mars, but there's 2 of them, 2 Marses, and Mars is associated with March and is associated with 3 because even though the way we divide the calendar and the way we divide this astrological calendar is different, like Mars is born, Aries begins in March, so it's associated with 3. If you have the 12 of the zodiac, Mars is associated with 3. It can also be associated with 1, but it's associated with 3. The rest of this, you know how sometimes you don't, never mind. 3. So, this is a 3, this is a 3. And they're the only 2 places where that image happens. So it makes a line. That line is essentially the 33rd parallel. This is a map. So, where is the 33rd parallel? If we consider this Europe, because this was made in Europe, then this is Northern Africa. Now, if we associate this with the United States, the 33rd parallel cuts across the south of the United States. Now, there's a gazillion things here, but I'm talking about one specific story, how this painting is a prophecy of the Civil War. It's more than that, because it's also a prophecy of the revolution in the 60s. I haven't figured out how it's I figured out pieces of how it refers to what's going on today. But anyway, I'm going to stick to the Civil War, except I will say that all these naked people running around is a representation of Woodstock, also, in the 60s. But there's this black woman right here. So you have these 2 black dudes, 33rd degree parallel. That's the south. And just a little bit north, is this black woman figure. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. That's Harriet Tubman. And where she is she's more close or at the Mason-Dixon line, being like, hey, and you can see the way she's reaching, and this person who's caught up in all this other stuff is putting a hand by the ear, listening. That's all I got to before, but since then, I saw a couple other things. So we have the 33rd parallel, we have this woman a little more north. She went further because she left. Keep going north. A bunch of people protecting a black person. These represent the free black people of the North who are swimming with the white people. The women, by the way. So these other black people are swimming because they're free blacks of the North. I'm sorry I said it like that. I don't know how to talk about things without getting somebody mad, but... And that's Harriet Tubman being protected by a ring of the secret society of women of the Underground Railroad. Say, oh, how, you know, and so far I know it's a little iffy. We'll wait till I get to the next part. So this looks like there's all these circles everywhere, all these circles. Now this is the pristine circle. But anyway, there's all these circles, all these circles. I'll get into more what that symbolizes at some other time. But certainly what this symbolizes is the earth, among other things. But this symbolizes the earth. And what's that? Now it's a cartoon, it's obviously a fantasy, yet things still mean things, right? What are those? I mean, you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to figure that out. What are those? And what is that? That's 9/11. Now, if you just look at it as it is, right? But I'm taking the picture on this phone, it's coming out even fuzzier. What's that look like? What's that look like? It's blurry. It almost looks better blurry. What's that look like? Anyway, this is New York City. So this whole thing is meant to represent New York City, even though it's the Earth. So it represents other things too, but it's meant to represent New York City. These are underground railroad, subway, tunneling machines. In another context, they also represent underground missile silos of nuclear bombs. This is New York City. That makes this the Great Lakes. If this is New York City, north of that, or, you know, New York, generally speaking, but New York, this is the Great Lakes. This is a black man in a boat with a white woman and a black woman left behind. What does that represent? Now you could be funny about it. When I first saw it, it was only yesterday that I saw that. And I said, boy, that doesn't really fit with my whole story. Until I Googled it today. You know, and there's a million funny things you could say about that, right? Use your imagination and you can go off in all different directions. And that's what I did. I don't even need to say it. But what it really represents, what this represents, is that because there's the black man in a boat with a white woman and the black woman left behind. You know, my first thought is he threw her out of the boat. But that's not what it represents. What it represents is for 10 years between 1851 and 1861, Harriet Tubman lived in Niagara. And she ferried people into Canada. She got people into Canada. She's in the water there because she's seeing them off. So where do you go when you're left in the water? You swim back to shore. So that's what that reference is. And again, like, I'm pretty sure now, I mean, I'll have to look even closer, I guess, and never mind what little itty bitty details, kind of like in that book Bluebeard by Vonnegut, like what little itty bitty details are that I haven't seen, but the only black people in this whole painting are here, 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 and here. 33rd degree parallel of the south. 3, do, and it draws a straight line to 3. A little bit north, Harriet Tubman asking for help to someone who's listening while even those who close by are not. Never mind everybody else. A little further north, hidden in the Underground Railroad, protected by the white people who know, amidst the white people who don't, amidst the freed slaves, ferrying people to Canada. I had one more thing to say and I just forgot it. I just forgot it. What was it? There's one more thing I really wanted to say. There was one more thing I wanted to say. I can't remember what it is. Dang it. Three. 33rd parallel. Harriet Tubman asking for help. How do you know it was Harriet Tubman? When people become mythic, it's just like in that movie Gladiator. What we do in the world send echoes through eternity, or whatever the quote is, right? Harriet Tubman. Up north, protected. Notice also that it's mostly by women. People don't realize the secret society is even the wrong word. Like the secret, like discipleship, apostleship of like women. People don't understand that. It ain't just Mary Magdalene. There's a fucking army of them. Right there. And this all means so much more too, you know. As much work went into this painting. I'm talking as much work. Man hours, information, intel, technology, the whole bag. Never mind prophecy, time travel, etc. And then yeah, Great Lakes, New York, ferrying people across. And because of the strong connection of New York, you know, I'll have to look at the map. I don't know how close it came, but it's also a reference to, like I said before, Woodstock. A bunch of naked people, free love. Also, free love. There was like a free love was a big thing in that era. It was like a movement. It was in the papers and stuff. People don't talk about it. I had to, you know, I listened to an Abraham Lincoln. I've been listening to an Abraham Lincoln cultural biography, Abe, and apparently it was a big thing back then. But anyway, Woodstock, where it was mostly white people and a couple black people. Just saying, I mean, that's what it was. That's what this is. And, you know, I think the skyscrapers and, you know, the skyscrapers in 9/11, I actually only realized that as I was looking at it right now. And that's how fast this shit comes sometimes. But it matters how it makes sense. If I had pulled out a bunch of white people out of this painting and made an analogy, but, you know, she is the centerpiece of this painting. Let the games begin. Sorry to say it like that because, but I mean, how the heck do you talk about this stuff? Because it's fucking real. So, anyway, I'll have more to say about it. Yeah, I'll have more to say about this painting. Do I want to talk about that right now? I don't think I have time. There's one other thing I really want to get to, but well, I'll leave a teaser for next time. This and this. I'll talk about that next time. All right. I guess I don't want to be like man up, even though that's what it takes sometimes. And I guess I don't want to be like, well, I want to hope and pray for your well-being. But at the same time, it's a tough thing because we want this like gentle, innocent peace, you know? And at the same time, like, no one else is going to fight this war. You know, where are we at in the war today? Well, there are wars to come. And I feel like I'm a messenger in a war that won't happen in my lifetime, which makes me really sad. Because I want to see what's on the other side of its victory. But who knows? Who knows? Things change awful fast these days. And yeah, 20. I got to make it to 2045. That might get me to 2050. I don't know. But But yeah, the long held fight that included back in this time, and there was black slavery in, I don't know how far it was extended in Europe back in the Renaissance, but this is a long war, and it's not just between black and white. It's against slavery itself, and it's against butchery itself. It's against bondage. And it's to find the freedom in the slavery of service to the Most High principle. That's what we're engaged in. And the only thing, I had a vision, right? I've had a lot of visions, but I had a 3-day vision. It pounded the piss out of me. But I found the pistis at the end of it, right? In my war in the fight against butchery and hatred is specifically doing my part to ensure that Christians become vegetarians, vegans. I don't like those words. I got to come up with a new word. But Christianity must become vegan. It has to. It has to. It has to. That will change the world. That will unite the peoples of the church. That will transform everything. It will be an inspired, magical act from the Most High, and God will be pleased. You know all those punishments that God did over time? I'll get into more of the philosophy of it at some other time, and I've gotten into some of it, but imagine doing something so great that that type of event happened for good instead of bad. All those bad things that happened to the Pharaoh from Moses, right? Imagine that in the opposite direction for good. Imagine what that would be like, right? That's what would happen. It sounds fuzzy when I just say it like that, but when I talk about like the philosophy, the theology, whatever of it, it actually makes a lot more sense, especially considering like entanglement. And we are entangled in eternity in God. Have a good day. A prayer for love.